Well, today I am going to make country sausage gravy in Grandma's old cast iron skillet here. I've had this thing for many years. Yesterday I baked off a few biscuits, so this is going to be my lunch today. Biscuits and gravy. So I'm going to be using a wooden spoon to stir this all up, and it's going to work out pretty good, I think. So my first ingredient I'm going to put in here is some bacon. This is about 4 or 5 pieces of bacon that I chopped up. We're on basically a medium heat. So we're just going to saute this up for a little bit, and then we're going to be adding all this delicious sausage. That's about a pound of sausage. Alright, we don't want to cook that too long. We just want to get some of that nice smoked bacon oil out of there. We want to save our oil, but we don't want to cook our bacon so that we end up with little bacon bit rocks. That's not going to be any fun. We want it to be still fairly soft. Alright, with the bacon bits removed, I'm now going to throw some red onions in there. This is basically one small red onion, and we're going to cook it in the same way for a bit. And just let those cook down just a little bit. Alright, those onions are cooking. They're just starting to caramelize, so quickly, before we take those out and put them with the bacon, we're going to add about 1 clove of minced garlic. So we're just going to stir that in there. Not going to cook that very long. It's just probably about a minute or so. Saute that around. Okay, I have been cooking that for about 1 minute. So now we're going to take this out and we're going to pour it right on top of the bacon. Alrighty, there we go. We're going to set that aside. And now it's time for this pound of sausage. So I cooked these before because I didn't want them to overcook, because this sausage is going to take a while. So let's just throw that in there. So we'll just put a cover on this and let this cook for a while it's smelling really good. Okay, this is very tasty sausage. It's very tasty, and I'm having a lot of trouble getting it to kind of break apart. And it's not very greasy either. It's not putting out a lot of grease, but it sure is tasty. So now I'm going to add all these pieces and parts back to it, mixing that around. So a lot of chefs like myself work by just throwing a bunch of stuff together and not really worrying about tablespoons, teaspoons, cups, and whatnot. So now I put about 4 tablespoons of butter in there. So we're going to start melting that. I may actually need a little more. I don't know. I think I'm just going to go with that. I think it's going to make a good roux. So that's going to be my next thing, is to make a roux. Yep, it's mixing all together really good. I think I'm going to put a little bit more butter in there. So I put about another 1.5 tablespoons of butter in there. I'm sure that's going to be okay with my doctor. No problem. So we'll melt that down. It's going to melt down really quick. This sausage is really good. And I have to stop eating it right out of the pan. I'm not going to have anything left. Alright, so now we're going to make a roux. I'm guessing about 5 or 6 tablespoons of just all-purpose flour. So we're going to just take and sprinkle some around there and start mixing it in. If you're going to burn your gravy, it's usually going to be the roux or the milk or cream that you use. So you want to make sure you're moving pretty quick with this. Don't have your flame up too high. I'm on medium heat, and it seems to be just about perfect. I think that's probably going to be enough. You can see how the whole thing has mixed up. You want to cook your roux. So now we're going to put our milk in. You can use either milk or half and half or even heavy cream. I'm going to be using half and half, about this much, half and half. If you use heavy cream, you're going to find that it gets too rich and thick. Regular milk will work. I just decided to go ahead and buy this half and half this morning. So we're just about to the point. We've cooked our roux for the most part. Feeling pretty good. Yeah, it's time to start dumping in some of this. So before, you could start seasoning this, which I'm not going to do. And you could put in sage or thyme or both, and even like cayenne pepper if you want to have some heat to your gravy. This would be the time to do it, just before you put your milk in. Another thing that I need to put in is some chicken base, chicken bouillon. I'm going to put in one of these cubes. You can take and kind of destroy the cube. You want to kind of break it up. These cubes have quite a bit of salt in them. They're going to give us a nice chicken flavor. Just going to spread that around. And they're going to be salty, so you want to save salt and pepper, or at least salt, until after you've got it kind of all put together and see where you're at, because that's going to have quite a bit of salt in it. So let's go ahead and mix that around. You could put green onions in it at this point, chives, whatever you want, any kind of seasoning you want to put in there. So we are about ready for some half and half now. Just going in here with it. I'm going to have to turn the heat up a little bit because we need to bring that to a boil. This is going to be a very thick and chunky country gravy. There's nothing wrong with that at all. There, that is thickening up pretty quick. I got my heat up to medium high. I'm on electric stove, so it's not quite the same as on open flame. As you can see, I'm starting to boil pretty well. It is very, very thick. I'm going to end up using all my half and half and then some. I'm going to end up with having to put more milk in it. My roux is fairly thick, but I was hoping to make a good portion of this so I can have biscuits and gravy for lunch pretty much every day after work this week. There we go. Yeah, it's going to be very, very thick gravy, to say the least. Alright, very, very thick gravy. I may have overrooted it, but that's okay. That's not a problem. It's just going to make it go farther. So I am going to add quite a bit more milk. This is just 1% milk. That will work. It'll actually make it thinner, being thinner milk. I've worked at places where you would use a portion of heavy cream, half and half, and 2% milk. I've never seen it done with 1%, and I always thought it was a little bit on the richer side and creamy side. And I really don't like my gravy too creamy. So I really don't use half and half, or heavy cream at all, honestly. I just choose to not do that. Well, that is a nice, thick, chunky country gravy. So what it could really use as a finishing touch is either parsley, which I don't really agree with, but very finely chopped green onions, or even chives would be a nice touch. I'm not going to do either one of those, but I am going to do a little bit more milk. You can see it's pretty much done. Just needs a little bit more. I don't think I could get any more in there. So we'll bring this up to a boil and our gravy will be done. That's looking really good. That made more than I was expecting. There we are. Look at that. It came up to temperature really quick. It's got a slight boil to it. It's got a pretty good boil to it. We can turn our heat off now. That is good looking country sausage gravy. That's going to be delicious on biscuits, which is what I'm planning to have it on. Oh yeah. Gotta find myself a container to pour this into, because after this I'm going to show you how to deal with a cast iron skillet, because I'm cooking liquid in this. This has to be cleaned, and you cannot, or at least I don't believe that you can clean cast iron using soap. But I'll show you the best way that I know how to clean my cast iron skillet when I get it in this kind of condition.